Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Community Service, Public Safety, Housing Development Committee to order for April 25th, 2023. And Madam Clerk, roll call and posting of the agenda.
Member Zaragoza,
Here.
Member Madrigal,
Here.
we have quorum for this meeting. The agenda for this meeting was posted in the City Hall Bulletin Board on April 18th, 2023.
Thank you. And Mayor Pro Tem won't join us today. He's got some personal business to take care of. So, thank you. Please join me to salute in our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, our next item is public comments not on the agenda. Item B, Madam Clerk, any virtually or in person?
Chair Zaragoza, we have no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Thank you. Our next item is item C1. This is City Clerk Department. Approval of the minutes at the Community Service, Public Safety, Housing Development Committee. Approve the minutes of March 28, 23 regular meeting as presented. And if we read the minutes, we're okay.
Yes, so moved.
Okay, second. Please vote.
Motion carries 2-0.
Thank you. Our next item is D1. This is the Police Department. This is Ventura County Animal Service Agreement that the Community Service Public Safety Housing and Development Committee recommended the City Council, 1, approve and authorize the mayor to sign the service level request in the amount of $2,547,687 for fiscal year 23-24 for the fourth year of a 5-year agreement, A8151, with the Ventura County to provide animal services. And was pre-recorded, and we do have, Officer, do you have any additional information you'd like to share?
Yes, good evening, Mayor Zaragoza, City Council Member Madrigal, and City staff. I am Commander Edgar Fernandez, and I'll be present to answer any questions that you may have. Also with me is Phil Rarick and Donna Gillespie of the Ventura County Animal Services Center.
Thank you. Councilmember, any?
Just a quick comment. I know the importance of this item here. We have obviously a deep love for animals in this community. Unfortunately, also at the same time, we sometimes, I feel, don't take ownership of what we need to take ownership of in this community. This is, regardless of where you live in the city of Oxnard, I'm sure most people have multiple pets. Unfortunately, sometimes, when it's time to take care of them or cannot take care of them, we probably don't always pick the best answer. And just by seeing the percentage compared to the rest of the county, you kind of see that, obviously we pay a lot, but at the same time, we are responsible for 2/5 of every call. So thank you, and thanks for this service.
You're welcome.
Thank you. My understanding is that we're about 40% of the total cost for the animal care. Is that correct?
For the county, yes, sir.
And my understanding too that the county of Ventura services 8 cities, including Oxnard.
That is correct, sir.
And of course, we're probably the largest city, and so some of the things that apparently a couple of years ago, the city then went and made an agreement with the county, and there's a certain percentage that goes up, every single year. So we're currently at about 8.7, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And of course, then also that we do a lot of the animal care services, emergency field services, and the licensing processing, correct?
That is the services that are provided to us, correct, sir.
Correct, okay. So if, for the listeners that are listening right now, if they have any problems with the animal that's biting people or acting funny, whatever they can call the Oxnard PD, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is there a number they can share with us that the people can then call if
Absolutely. If there's any situation where there's a vicious animal or an animal that is causing or posing a threat, 911 would be the best.
Oh, 911.
Correct. In order to
Okay.
provide that service.
Okay. And my understanding too, officer, is that if we don't have anybody on standby at the time, that the county can come in and they charge per hour service. Is that correct?
That is correct. We have them on call if we are not available to be on call ourselves, but that is something that we're working on, maintaining that service within the city itself. So our employees would be the ones on call.
And being a member of the VCAS, I want to share with you that they're providing really good service for the community. And I can see the representatives here today, so I just want to thank you for the good service that's been provided to the city. And of course, my understanding too is that for any services there on, well, I think we're going to have a program there in the county's going to have a program for services here in Oxnard. And they're going to provide services there on St. Mary's and Vineyard. Is that correct? Or do you know anything about that? Or maybe they can share a little bit about that.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members,
How are you?
staff. Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm well. I'm well. Thank you for asking. I'm Donna Gillespie, Ventura County Animal
Yes.
Services Deputy Director. And yes, we've got a great program. It's called Pets for Life.
Right.
And we have one of our staff members go out within the city, grassroots, and we've done quite a few spay and neuters from a grant.
Oh, so you started the program?
Yeah, it's already,
Oh.
oh, sorry. Yes, it's already started. There's been a lot of really terrific stories.
And there's,
come out,
is,
And
uh-huh.
yes, Raf's done a great job in the city, and he's helped quite a few people already.
and Don, my understanding is that you also have services bilingual in Spanish and English.
Yes, he is bilingual.
Fantastic.
Yes, so he can service everybody out there.
And there's a phone number they can call, for that.
If they are in that area, our main phone number for the Ventura County Animal Shelter is 805-388-4341.
388-4341.
Uh-huh.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mhm. So, Councilmember,
Good. If we're there, move to approve.
and I'll
Excuse
second
me,
that.
Chair.
Any
Um,
speakers, virtually or in person?
We have no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Thank you. So it's first by Oscar and second by Zaragoza. Please vote. Thank you, officer.
Motion carries 2-0.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Our next item is item 2. This is an update on the efforts of the Mayor's Gateway Task Force and authorization for an agreement with Found Design LLC DBA merge for the Gateway project. Recommendation that the Community Service, Public Service Housing Authority Committee recommend to the City Council, 1, that they receive an update on the location of preliminary schematic design for the 4 gateway proposed by the Mayor's Gateway Task Force. 2, authorize the city manager to execute an agreement with Found Design LLC DBA merge, not to exceed an amount of $400,000 for the purpose of the design development, documentation, engineering, construction, administration, and up to 4 gateways, and authorize the city manager to, number 3, authorize the city manager to initiate the design, construction, permitting, project, management, and gateway locations, 1 in South Oxnard. And let me share a little something here before we continue, then we can ask either Samantha or the staff to give us some more information. I'd just like to share that the Gateway Task Force, with your indulgence, Councilmember, Task Force Committee report. In September 2021, I established the Mayor's Gateway Task Force to help me lead in efforts to create a new distinguishing gateways into the city as part of the City Council's 5-year priorities. And this is an important effort in order to improve the image of the city and to add to our community civic pride, welcome visitors to Oxnard, and also implement the city's restored landscaping efforts as part of Measure E. I selected the members from the task force to represent different sectors and generations in Oxnard, including education, the business community, marketing, and tourism and youth. We have been meeting on a constant basis since the task force was established, created, and have made great progress in selecting locations and entry points to the city, in collaborating with designs and consultant with Merge for the gateways that represent the city's vibrant, unique communities. I'm honored and grateful to have worked with the Gateway Task Force, and I'd like to mention the task force members at this time. First of all, is Armando Lopez, a member of the business community. He's an elderly person. Brittany Hendricks, Vice President of Marketing from Visit Oxnard. Selena Zacharias, Senior Director of Government and Community Relations of the California State University and Channel Islands Harbor Commissioner. And also, Marvin Booz, who's here with us today, and he'll probably share some words with us. He's a co-creator of the Neighborhood Pride Resident Cleanup. He's done a lot of good work for the community. Melanie Medina from the Coastal Keepers, and Renee Mendoza Bright. Renee has changed employments in June of 2022, and as a result of that, he had to resign from the task force. But I called him just the other day, and he's really, really interested and really happy to what he's done so far. I want to thank each of the volunteers for their time and creativity. The staff report and presentations highlight the four locations, proposed designs, and the next step is to finalize the design. And by the way, there was a nice, really presentation done on that, of constructing the gateways in a multi-years in phase approach process. I look forward to continuing working with the task force, with Merge and the city staff to bring this gateways to the city of life to the city of Oxnard. And again, we do have staff for additional information, council member, and also to answer any questions. But before I continue, I just want to thank the staff. Alex Newen, who's really been a great, great person. Ashley Golden, Samantha Shapiro, who's here with us to answer any questions. Martha Guillan, Katie Casey, and Cecilia Perez. So I just want to thank all those individuals for the good work we've done so far. And we do have Samantha for any questions, council member. But before we continue, we do have a speaker, and I think Marvin, you want to share a couple of words before we? You want to come up to the mic? Marvin has been very instrumental in helping us out, and not only in this Gateway Task Force, but also in helping us clean our city. Marvin?
Excuse me if I slur my words. I just came from the dentist office, so my lips all swelled up.
We can hear clearly.
So, anyway, I thank the mayor for asking me to be on this committee. It's very interesting. I'm really excited to see the things go up. It's going to do wonders for the city.
And you're very instrumental in helping us pick the different designs tentatively, and also the different locations for the projects. And of course, you know, one of the first projects that we're looking at is over in South Oxnard, off of Channel Islands or PV Road and Highway 1. So
It's really ironic. When you start looking at designs, there must be 10,000 of them. And try and pick 3 or 4 out of 10,000.
right.
That is a tough job.
But thank you, Marvin, and
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other speakers?
Chair Zaragoza, we have no additional speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Council member, do you like to share any?
Oh, sure. Just a few comments. Looking at designs, they actually look great. Honestly, I wasn't a fan at first, but the more I look at them, I actually like them. Second thing, just anticipation of making these. In all honesty, I would actually like all 4. And I know cost, because it was specifically mentioned a few times, that it would not exceed $400,000. Just looking at it and based off of the report, we may probably realistically miss out on location 2. Simply because I know costs are going up. And I think this one, according to staff report, says that they expect the most challenges coming from location 2.
The bridge.
And the bridge. And honestly, I probably, the most welcoming one simply because it'll probably make the area look the best as to what it looks like today. Because all of the three, realistically speaking, if there is something there or not much will change, but location 2 is an eyesore. So I understand, and this will take the most time, but I'm just overall looking that, this probably won't be done in the next year or two. I'm just kind of scared that we may lose out on the second location simply because of cost.
Because of funding.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that I personally like, location 2, but one of the things that we were looking at, and probably Samantha can, or maybe Ashley can also help us, is we also want to spruce up South Oxnard, which I think is really important, the entrance of South Oxnard coming from Malibu
yeah.
and so forth.
Of course, well, actually,
Yeah.
South Oxnard is first, so it was not going to take anything from South Oxnard.
No, absolutely, thank you. Samantha, you want to share anything, additional information?
Yes, so the $400,000, just to clarify, is for the design development phase, so it doesn't include construction costs. And we are, for location 2, the one on North Oxnard between the bridges, we do anticipate more like outside agency approvals and things like that. But those are things that can be discussed when this goes to council as well, if it's something that the council wants to look at reorganizing the priority and things like that.
Okay, no, sounds good.
But location 1 is about 78,000, not taking into consideration the engineering and other costs for that.
That's correct, yeah.
Correct. So any additional information, Ashley?
I just want to reiterate what Samantha is indicating of, this is design-only construction.
Design.
And it will vary a lot per location of what that will be. We need to go through this phase to come back. So we'll have opportunities, if we are getting up to the upward budget of this 400,000, we'll have time to amend that so that we don't delay any one location either. But again, just design-only construction costs will be additional.
And that's what you were sharing.
No, we're good, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Samantha. So what do you think, Councilmember?
Move to approve.
Okay, and I'll second that. Please vote.
Motion carries 2-0.
Thank you, and thank you, Samantha and Ashley, and Mr. City Manager, and the rest of the folks. Thank you for a good job. The next item is, this is a Housing Department. Subject is investment policy and portfolio guidelines for the Housing Authority, City of Oxnard, and the recommendation that the Community Service, Public Service Housing Development recommend to the Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority, the City of Oxnard, to approve the resolution adopting the investment policy and portfolio guidelines for the Housing Authority of Oxnard for fiscal 23-24. And of course, this is a pre-recorded item under Measure M, and we do have Emilio here for any additional information. Councilmember?
I think I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so my understanding is, Mr. Emilio, that this funds are going to be for current transactions, for capital development funds, for funds that are exceeding daily requirements, and I think the fourth item is Operation Reserve Funds. Can you give us some more information on this item?
That's correct, sir. Emilio Ramirez, Housing Director. Honestly, this is a very process item required by HUD.
It's a mandated item, right?
It's a mandated item. It is the ultimate of bureaucracies. It's mandated by HUD. We present the same exact policy every single year. We manage millions of dollars that we use for rental assistance, capital improvements, and et cetera. At any moment in time, any day in time, we have more than we need that day, but we will need next month to pay rent and et cetera. And so while we hold that money, we're required to adopt an investment policy so that it doesn't go to waste or become at risk or something like that. And that's what this is for. So we pay the rent for maybe 2,000 people in town, plus make improvements and et cetera. And that's a sizable amount of money that we hold on, that we have on hold at any moment in time.
Okay, so any additional information we should know on this item?
No, sir.
But it's just a mandated items, and as I mentioned before, those four items are the main items that
It is a
the funds for
required
the.
item by HUD. Well, you should know that after it goes to the full council, this and the budget, which will go to the full council, it'll be submitted to HUD and we'll meet compliance with that requirement.
And we have a certain amount of time to submit this, correct?
It has to be submitted along with the budget, and the budget has to be adopted and submitted before the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30. So we do have some time.
Councilmember, any other questions?
No, no questions.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve this item.
Chair Zaragoza,
Oh, Betty, go ahead.
we have no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Please vote.
I'll second.
Motion carries 2-0.
Okay, thank you. Our next item, this is again, the Housing Authority, subject adoption of the fiscal year 23-24 annual action plan and amended Oxnard citizen participation plan. Recommendation of the city, let me start over again, that the Community Service, Public Safety, Housing and Development Committee recommend to the City Council, number one, conduct a public hearing regarding the fiscal year 23-24 annual action plan with funding recommendation and amended Oxnard Citizen Participation Plan. To approve the fiscal year 23-24 annual action plan with the recommended use of funds for selected activities and conform with the City of Oxnard consolidated plan goals as defined with Ventura County Regional Consolidation Plan. 3, approve the updated changes to the amended Oxnard Citizen Participation Plan, and also authorize the city manager and designee to incorporate any final HUD grant allocations and into the 2023 annual action plan, and authorize a budget appropriation to fund the administration projects, including the ability to increase or decrease project funding by 10% or up, and the administrative amount allowed for the administrative staff, whichever is greater. And 5, authorize the city manager and his designee to incorporate any recommended changes resulting from public input in the fiscal year 23-24 annual action plan as amended in Oxnard Citizen Partition Plan. Oxnard is directed by the City Council, including the authorization of funding, appropriations, and revenue expenditure budgets up to 10% of each grant. 6, authorize the city manager's designee to execute the required application, certification, and other pertinent documents for the submission of fiscal year 23-24 annual action plan and the amended Oxnard Citizen Participant Plan to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. And 7, authorize the city manager and his designee to execute HUD agreements and sign all agreements for the implementation of the annual action plan, including subrecipients, interdepartmental and interdepartmental agreements. And again, this was under Measure M, a pre-recorded item, and that's a logs item. So, Councilmember, any questions on this item?
Just real quickly, I'll just kind of, I guess, focus on those that are recommended at 0. So I'll just kind of start with the Kingdom Center, their emergency shelter, just not needed or it just is what it is.
Thank you, Councilman. Yes, I was going to offer an update when had an opportunity, but number one, you should be aware that we did receive a letter of appeal from Kingdom Center asking, well, you received a letter of appeal asking for reconsideration of that recommendation to not fund it. The reason that we are recommending to not fund it is because these funds are not supposed to be a long-term plan for sustainability. They're supposed to be filling a gap in order to accomplish eventual stability. And Kingdom Center has received this same allocation every year since they've been in town in 2011 or 12. And so we felt that we needed to fund alternate programs. And we do have some new programs that are being considered. Nonetheless, we did receive that appeal request, and if you'd like to consider consider funding them, then we'd have to make budget adjustments to the emergency shelter grant portion of the plan, which we can do.
Okay, thank you. What about the People's Self-Help at Cypress Place in Garden City?
The People's Self-Help Development Project no longer needs the funds. It has been fully funded and in fact has closed financing. We have signed all documents, so they are not in need of funds.
And then the WeCare, the Boost, the Business Operation Optimization Support Tools?
I'm sorry. Thank you. They didn't qualify for the funding because they didn't submit a complete application.
And then lastly, I guess this one got a double no because there's two on the PowerPoint where the exact same thing, but the Affordable Mental Health Services from Cal Lutheran at the Oxnard Center.
We actually talked about that quite a bit, Councilman. It's a new application from the university offering mental health services to the community in a way that is also an opportunity to offer training or education to future people that are searching a degree. Ultimately, the decision was that there were other smaller nonprofits that had a higher need and a lesser ability to fill their gap. And so since we have a finite amount of money, we chose the smaller nonprofits that did not have the same opportunity to fill their gap as we felt CLU had.
Okay. What is one of those mental health services or one of those small nonprofits that we are helping out?
So on one of the attachments that is in the package, you should see a 2-page spreadsheet that looks like this. I'm sorry about that. And it lists all the ones that we are proposing to fund. On page 1 of that attachment, it has a section kind of in the middle of the page listed as public services. Public services is an amount that is eligible use of funds from CDBG, but it is limited to 15% of the allocation.
Right.
And so they were as part of that public service allocation, and we had to make decisions as to the ones that are being funded there. Livingston, the Housing Authority, Rec Department, Shelter Care Resources, Performing Arts Center, Turning Point, and we didn't have enough funding to consider all of the applications.
Okay, no, that's understandable. My question was more as to the aspect of mental health.
Oh,
Because you stated that we were helping other smaller nonprofits that could provide a better service in mental health, but then none of them are mental health.
my apologies, sir. No, if I stated that, it was an error. There are other nonprofits providing services, but not providing mental health services.
Okay, thank you. Okay. That is, well, there's only two of us, so I'll just stop there.
Okay, so this is the 4th year of a 5-year plan?
That's correct.
And one of the things I was gonna ask is, the CDBG funding, how do we solicit the applications? Or is it agencies that come yearly, or how does a new agency come about to ask for CDBG funding?
It's a pretty involved process, sir. It starts late last year, where we start to announce what HUD calls Community Participation Meetings, or CP Plan. That's why the Community Participation Plan is being amended. We do a series of meetings throughout town. This year we finally started to do them in person again. And those community participation meetings identify the community's desire or priority in terms of what they would like to see funded. We take that into consideration. We issue the application online. People submit their proposals. We vet those proposals. We score them for eligibility. We have internal meetings to discuss which should be funded at what levels, under what conditions. all of those things. That process takes a good, maybe around 6 months to get to this point, and we're not done yet. We still have to undertake today's meeting, and then go to full council and have a hearing then, and then submit it to HUD.
And we're looking at what, about 2.3 million, is that what it is, I think?
The CDBG allocation generally runs somewhere between, in this case, 2.3 million, correct? It generally runs somewhere around 2.5 million a year. To Oxnard anyways. It is dependent on congressional appropriation. So every year it changes a little bit depending on how Congress funds the CDBG program.
And the committee that evaluates the request, is that staff or is that?
It is staff. It includes myself and the grants unit, the assistant director and the grants unit. We do that review.
Great. Okay, any additional questions on this item? Go ahead.
I should mention, sir, that there are a couple of things that are new. Number one, that appeal letter from Kingdom Center, so mention that. We are proposing to fund, subject to your approval, some programs within the Oxnard Housing Authority. Specifically, you may remember both here in committee and at council, heard at various points the desire to create a special programs unit within the housing authority to serve homelessness.
That's right. Yeah.
So we're intending on funding that piece here. There is a new development project, a capital improvement project with many mansions. There is a park, if you will, that will be open to the public, that is between the Central Terrace development and the Aspire Apartments development. And so that is being funded, as you can see on the spreadsheet. Then there is something called a neighborhood improvement project with the Oxnard Housing and Redevelopment Department. That's the housing department. Honestly, what that means is because Cypress Place no longer had a need to fund, and we didn't get enough applications, then we have that to consider going forward. And so we are actively working on identifying those sources. But I wanted to mention that because it implies that we are actively working on improving a neighborhood, and it is not something that we we don't have it already completed. So we're working on that process right now.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions? Well, I'll make a motion to.
Chair.
Do we have any speakers?
We have no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Thank you. So I'll make a motion to approve this item.
I'll second.
Second, please vote. Thank you,
Motion
Mr.
carries 2-0.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. Okay, our next item on the agenda is items for future agendas.
Nothing at the moment.
I have nothing either, so we are adjourned. Thank you.